welcome to Satsuma Designs. Today I'm going to show you how to sew on a curve and give you a few tips on how to sew effectively to make it fun and easy. Whenever I'm starting to sew, I ensure that my thread is properly threaded through all of my guides and my tension is set correctly for the best stitch that I'm looking for, not too tight and not too loose. I always do a little bit of a test sew, so I'll create a seam. When my sewing foot is up, I'll just gently press down on the back of my pedal to drop it. And one thing I like to do is use the hand wheel or flywheel on the side of the machine to drop my needle. This ensures that when the needle starts moving, your thread, if it's short, if the tail is short, doesn't come unthreaded from the needle. And it also secures your fabric so you are sure to be sewing. You'll note that just for the camera angle, I'm sewing opposite, so the rest of my fabric is here to the right. Usually it would be to the left. Let's get started. So I'm going to sew forward a couple of stitches, then back tack to sink my seam. I'm going to go ahead and just sew quickly to the edge, back tack, and finish. And I like the look of that. I'll check my bobbin. I like my stitch length, which I have set to a 3. Okay, let's go ahead and sew on this curve. So we have a curve here. I'm making a contour face mask. This is the lining. I'm going to be using what we would consider a top stitch. So I'm edge stitching on the far right side of my sewing foot and using that as my guide. You can see here I put a piece of painter's tape that indicates my 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you can see on the plate here that's noted too. I just like this tape tool to use when I'm sewing, when I'm joining garments, pieces of our uniforms and medical scrubs. Alternatively, if you were edge stitching, you would be using the inside of the foot. Today, we're going to be using the outside of the foot, which would also indicate a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna use my little ruler here to show you. So the circle would be where the needle is. And there you are. So let's go ahead and drop our presser foot. Again, the right side of my fabric is on the right side of my sewing foot. I'm gonna I'm gonna drop my needle. I'm gonna sew forward a couple of stitches and back tack and then continue on. Now, as I'm sewing on a curve, I'm using both hands. I'm watching my presser foot, not my needle. My focus is here for the edging. And I'm just gently working it around. When you're working on the curve, you shouldn't need to raise your presser foot or sewing foot, but if you do, that's fine too. So we're coming around a little bit tighter curve here on the bottom of the face mask liner, and we're coming to the edge. And I'll back tack to finish, forward, and then end my seam. So you can see I have hopefully, yep, I have a pretty good, let's see here. I'm a little over, but close to between a 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch. So I'm happy with my work. You can see that it's uniform. I went slowly, but as I practice, and you do too, you'll get faster as you sew around curves. Okay, thank you for joining me, and see you next time.